Crimea is moving forward with plans to separate from the rest of the country following Sunday's overwhelming approval of a secession referendum. Monday, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree recognizing Crimea as a sovereign and independent country. In Kiev, the Ukrainian parliament approved a plan to mobilize 40,000 reservists to counter what it calls Russian aggression in Crimea. Ukrainian government leaders are also hoping to prevent what happened in Crimea from happening in other pro-Russian regions of Ukraine. Ukraine is also recalling its ambassador to Moscow. And international reaction to the referendum has come in the form of sanctions. The U.S. and the European Union are instituting travel bans and freezing assets in the harshest sanctions levied against Russia since the Cold War. We have team coverage for you, and we begin in the Crimean capital of Simferopol. That's where CCTV's Tom Barton is standing by. Tom, what's the reaction to Russia's recognition of Crimean independence?
Well, the recognition of independence of this new territory, of Russian territory of Crimea today, announced. At least the separation from Ukraine announced as part of that intermediate steps that the local administration here are trying to do to push towards full membership of Russia. Quite a lot of talk of delegations going, official requests to become a subject of the Russian Federation, and then positive signals coming from Moscow. But all of this in a completely divergent direction to Western governments who say, hang on a minute, not only is this recognition not legitimate, neither is the referendum that came before that, neither is the administration that was chosen locally before that as well. So there's a whole pile of things, say Kiev and Western governments is one illegitimacy piled on top of another. Moscow says, green light, on you go.
Riot police in the streets of Simferopol. They patrol, stop and search people along with Russian Cossacks and Crimea's own new defence forces. With armed men back on the streets of the Crimean capital, it feels like it did at the beginning of this crisis. But now, pro-Russian politicians in the parliament no longer consider this Ukraine. But at this Ukrainian military base, one officer says he's unflustered by pro-Russian declarations classing them as foreign invaders.
For us, the situation didn't change. We will continue to carry out our tasks. We are the armed forces of Ukraine, so I don't think anything will change.
Russian bikers have also arrived here. They are thanked by pro-Russian locals.
We are very grateful to you and your president. Well, now, our president. We couldn't sleep well here from 1991 because of the things they do in Kiev.
My congratulations on this holiday. From now on, it's going to be a day to celebrate.
Other locals have mixed views on Crimea's status.
We want to live in a united Ukraine. We want our opinions to be heard, and we're not just a few in Crimea, here in Simferopol, but also in Sevastopol.
Why should I vote for someone else if I'm a pure Russian from Sevastopol? It's Russia 100%, even with my eyes closed.
Crimea's Tatars were deported from this region en masse by Stalin. 2 decades after returning from exile, they have built communities here from scratch. They support Kiev and boycotted the vote.
Our Crimea, our homeland. We're not going to give it up easily.
New flags, new uniforms, new paraphernalia of state are already on display. Crimea's residents look at them, aware this region and their lives here may have changed for good.
So amid all that pageantry, the new flags of Crimea, the flag of Russia behind it, and the removals of the symbol of state of Ukraine, there are a lot of people here in Crimea who are now asking themselves, what precisely have we done here by holding and voting as we have in this referendum? For those that support Kiev, wondering whether life is now going to be more difficult, possibly with more repression in it. And for pro-Russians who voted, they're now thinking, what do we get for this vote that we've made?
And as you said, what precisely have we done? What precisely will they do next? What happens next? What is the next step?
Well, as far as it goes, this delegation has gone to Moscow, receiving positive signals. There's a lot of formalities to go through, but they think that perhaps by as early as next week, Crimea should, as far as the local pro-Russian authorities and authorities in Moscow are concerned, most probably become part of the Russian Federation. But then there's the knock-on questions. What will Kiev do to respond to that? Kiev obviously exceptionally unhappy by this decision, and also the garrisons, the remaining Ukrainian soldiers in their bases across the Crimean Peninsula, increasing pressure applied with announcements that they are now considered foreign occupying forces, and whether local forces here loyal to Moscow will try to put more pressure on them, perhaps including force, to try and get them to lay down their arms and surrender. That is possibly the most likely flashpoint in this increasingly tightening grip of Russia on this territory.
All right, Tom, thanks so much. Our live team coverage continues with Jack Barton, who joins us from Donetsk in eastern Ukraine. And Jack, we've seen a lot of pro-Russian demonstrators there. What's the reaction to the Crimean referendum?
Well, unsurprisingly, amongst people who support Ukrainian unity, there is dismay. But yes, amongst the pro-Russia supporters, there has been elation, particularly yesterday when the referendum was actually going on. That was when we saw about 8,000 people storming two government buildings, entering those buildings, and then afterwards surrounding the administrative center. But as those results began coming out, we saw people still driving around at midnight with flags out of the window, beeping horns. Today, a more subdued mood, almost a surreal mood in some areas. Down at the administrative center, we saw a large group of Cossacks down at the building. They were in discussions with the administrators, also with the pro-Russia crowd, and essentially they told us they were going to continue these discussions and decide in 1 week's time whose side they're going to be on. So there is a sense that something major has happened, but now a lot of people are standing back even here and going, where do we go from here?
Jack Barton live for us in eastern Ukraine. Thank you so much.